Welcome to Dad Perfect, a podcast for busy dads and our favorite heroes, the wives who stand with them. Dads who understand that investing in your family is the greatest investment you can ever make. Dads who are ready to dig deep and become the perfect dad for your family. To become Dad Perfect. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dad Perfect podcast. I'm David Rasmussen, your host. Thank you for joining me today. I want to welcome all of you who are listening for the first time, and as always, I want to extend a special welcome to the wives who are joining us. As fathers, we know that we are nothing without you. Today in this episode, we will be introducing the principle, live consistently. This is the 8th of the 9 core principles of perfectly devoted dads. So we're almost through this series of introducing the 9 core principles. This principle of living consistently is a good way to think of it is it's the embodiment of the phrase, do as I do, not as I say. Often we hear that phrase turned around, right? That we kind of joke that do as I say, not as I do, as parents will tell our kids, do what I say, don't do what I do. And we joke about it because it is a joke, right? It doesn't work. Our children watch everything that we do and they learn from it. My kids, all of my boys have watched me shave. They just come in to the bathroom and they'll watch me shave and they'll start to mimic me. And I'm sure we've all, as dads, you've had the experience like this, right? So they watch me shave and they mimic it. They watch what we do at their soccer game. They watch how we interact with the referees or with other parents, right? So they're watching and they're learning and they're going to learn this, how to behave in this situation. They watch how we treat our wives. Are we kind to our wives? Do we say rude things? Are we sarcastic? They watch it and they learn. They watch what we say when we get hurt. What do you say when you get hurt? What kind of words come out of your mouth? They watch how we treat others in all different types of situations. They watch how we improve ourselves, and this list goes on and on. They even watch our mannerisms and the way we speak, and they pick those up, right? And I'll come back to that in a bit. So our example and the way we live our life is the greatest teacher that we have for our children. It is the key to teaching our children how to be successful in life without actually preaching to them. Because so often when we actually preach, when we try to teach with our words, they don't hear it. They tune out, just not something that they listen to. At different stages in life, they listen better than others, but they are always watching us. So our challenge as fathers is to really ask ourselves, what will we teach our kids when we're not actively trying to teach them, right? So what are we going to teach them just by living our lives? What will they learn from us as we simply go about doing the things we normally do? The important thing in this, we still have to be intentional about this, right? We can't just live our lives willy-nilly and not pay attention and just be like, oh, well, whatever, they're going to be themselves. We have to be intentional about the way we choose to live our lives. We need to have a plan. Right? We need to set beliefs, values, and principles that guide our lives, and these are the things that they will learn, right? So we need to make sure that we are consistent in that. We don't need to be perfect. I think that's one thing I want to make very clear. We don't need to be perfect. We're not perfect in life, and it's actually better for them to see us make mistakes. It's better to see us learn how to get back up, because they're going to have to do that in their lives. They're going to make mistakes, and if they think that making a mistake makes them bad somehow, they're going to be afraid to make mistakes. They're going to be afraid to grow. So they need to see us be imperfect. They need to see us learn and grow. Learning how to get back up is one of the best things that we can teach our children. So living life is important, even with all of its imperfections. And the best way for them to learn how to live life with its imperfections is by watching us do just that. So living consistently, it helps our children prepare for life by giving them good examples of these beliefs, values, and principles and how to live them in life and how to get back up when we make mistakes, when we fall short, and keep going and keep moving down that direction that we want to go. Now, another reason for us to live consistently and be this example to our children is because when we live consistently, when we live by these beliefs, values, and principles, we build a permanent foundation for our children. We become a beacon for our children, for our family. And they will know that no matter what happens in life, their father is solid. He's there. He's constant. They know that he's always there. So I want to dive into 3 areas of living consistently. The first one is that consistency provides direction for yourself and for your children. The second one is talking a little bit about how to identify and create these foundational beliefs, values, and tools to make them part of your family culture. So it's not something that's nebulous that your kids don't know what your values and beliefs are, that you're trying to live them, but they may not know them. And so some tools and tips to helping that become part of your culture, and so they understand what you are doing. And then the third one is some examples and talking about how your life is their greatest teacher. So let's go to the first one, that consistency provides direction. Now, when I was in high school, I took some science classes. We all took some science classes, and I enjoyed physics. I was never great at it. I never followed it into anything more than just my high school class, but I enjoyed it. It made sense to me a lot more than biology or chemistry. I really struggled with those, but physics kind of made sense. And there was something called a force vector. Now, for those of you who are physicists and engineers, I apologize if I butcher this, but I will give it the best explanation that I remember and that I can understand. But a force vector is a combination of direction and magnitude, like movement, okay? So your beliefs, values, and principles are like the direction. They point you where you want to go. And the magnitude, the movement, are things like your love, your hope, your desire that drive to get there, right? So that these values and these beliefs and principles they're the direction, and your desire is the magnitude, the movement. That's the force vector. And without this direction of these values, beliefs, and principles, we will go off course. We'll get lost and we get confused. I tried an experiment on this winter. We had a lot of snow here at my house this year, and I had heard that people, if they can't see where they're going, if they don't have that sense of direction, that they will walk in circles. I have a good sense of direction, or like I can pretty well tell like north, south, east, west. I can navigate through things really well. I read maps really well back when we used to use paper maps. And I thought, I'm going to experiment. I am going to try this. So I went to a park near our house, which is just a big open field they use for soccer games. And fresh snow, I set out, I put my hands to the side of my eyes so I couldn't see, anything in my peripheral vision. And I kind of picked a point in the distance and then put my head down, put my hands around my eyes, and I started to walk. And I thought, I'm doing pretty well. I can tell I'm going pretty straight. And I have a background a bit in dancing too. So I've got a pretty good sense of like my balance, right? And what they call proprioception. And so I'm walking along and I think, I've got this. I should be coming up on some landmarks that are, like there's a soccer goalpost in the field. Like I should be coming up on that goalpost pretty soon. And all of a sudden I ran into a parking sign in the parking lot. I was like, what? And I looked back and sure enough, I had done a full 90-degree turn. I thought, this is crazy. So the next day we got more snow, fresh snow. I went back, I did it again. And I thought, okay, I tended to drift to the right. So this time I'm going to make sure I don't, right? So as you could expect, I started walking, did the same thing, covered my eyes so I could just see it in front of me. Then I turned 90 degrees to the left. Almost in the exact same spot, but on the opposite side of the park. I thought, oh my, I couldn't believe it. So a third time, after another snow, a couple days later, I did it again. I thought, I'm going to go from a different direction. I am going to get this. I'm going to walk straight because I know I can. So I set out, picked a point in the distance, put my hands over my eyes again so I could see just in front of my feet. I kept walking and walking and walking and walking. And I knew this time I was walked farther than last time. I thought, this is awesome. I am walking straight. And I just kept walking. I thought, I've crossed it. Wait, how come I'm still walking? I should be there by now, right? And I'm still walking. And then I started thinking, well, where am I? What's going on? And I couldn't figure it out. But I thought, I'm just going to keep walking. I'm going to keep walking. And eventually I ran into, not literally, but I came to the playground in the park. I thought, how did I get to the playground? The playground's in the middle, and I know I walked farther than going past the middle. So I retraced my steps, and I had walked a full, complete circle and then some in the snow because I didn't see where I was going. So it's true, if you're ever wondering, when we can't see where we're going, we walk in circles. So without direction, we will go off course. Without values, beliefs, and principles in our lives, we go off course, just like I did walking in the snow. I couldn't believe it, but there it is. It's true. So in the previous episode, I talked about building a lighthouse-like relationship with your wife. Living consistently has to do with that lighthouse as well, not necessarily with your wife, but just that same concept. So I'm going to go onto the same concept of a lighthouse for just a minute and talk about how living consistently is like a lighthouse for your family. So with lighthouses, sometimes there are things called lower lights. And there's the main light that's up above, and then down below is a lower light that is farther away. And when you're navigating the seas, you line those two lights up, and it tells you how to get in past the obstacles. right? So when there's just a single light, the lighthouse up above, sometimes it's difficult to know how to approach that lighthouse if there's a reef or something, some kind of a barrier that you have to get around. And so these lower lights give you direction. Okay, so you see the connection here. So you have the lighthouse, which is like the principle, the value, right? Your belief. The lower light is what gives you direction. And you are, as a father, you are like the lower light. You help provide direction in conjunction with those principles, values, and beliefs. There's a hymn that was written by a man named Philip Bliss. This is a hymn that I really enjoy. I love to sing, and this is a fun song to sing. But I think it's important to understand a little bit of the story of this hymn before I tell you the words of the hymn. So this songwriter, Philip Bliss, was traveling with a famous evangelist named D.L. Moody. And D.L. Moody shared the story with Philip Bliss, who wrote the song. So this is a true story shared by D.L. Moody. One dark, stormy night on Lake Erie, the winds were howling and the rain was relentless. The waves rolled like mountains and not a star in the sky could be seen. A ship was rolling with the huge waves and was trying to make its way into the Cleveland harbor. At last, the captain saw the lighthouse for the Cleveland harbor, but he could not see the lower lights. The captain said to the pilot, "Is that Cleveland harbor?" And the pilot responded, "Yes, sir, it is Cleveland harbor." The captain asked, "Where are the lower lights?" "They must have gone out, sir," said the pilot. The captain asked the pilot, "Can you make it into the harbor without the lower lights?" And the pilot replied, "We must, sir, or we will perish in this storm." And so with a strong hand and a brave heart, the pilot turned the ship's wheel toward Cleveland harbor. But the ship missed the channel and crashed on the rocks. The boat sank and over 200 people lost their lives. This is a true story that led to a hymn about God and how we can all help guide His lost children to Him through the rough waters of life. As I mentioned before, it also applies to us as fathers. These beliefs, values, and principles that we live by, that bring us joy, that bring us safety, love, and hope, these are like God, or the lighthouse. And we, the fathers, are the brothers who man the lower lights. So after hearing Mr. Moody tell the story, Philip Bliss wrote the words and the music to this beautiful hymn that he titled, "Let the Lower Lights Be Burning." This is the hymn. Brightly beams our Father's mercy from His lighthouse evermore, but to us He gives the keeping of the lights along the shore. Dark the night of sin has settled, loud the angry billows roar. Eager are the eyes watching, longing for the lights along the shore. Trim your feeble lamp, my brother. Some poor seaman, tempest-tossed, trying now to make the harbor in the darkness may be lost. And the chorus goes like this. Let the lower lights be burning, send a gleam across the wave. Some poor fainting, struggling seaman, you may rescue, you may save. Now I'd like to read this a little bit, changing some of the words to make it more applicable for us. Brightly beams our Father's mercy from His lighthouse evermore, but to us, the fathers, He gives the keeping of the lights along the shore. Let the lower lights be burning, send a gleam across the wave. Some poor fainting, struggling child, you may rescue, you may save. Dark the night of life has settled, loud the angry billows roar, eager eyes are watching, longing for your lights along the shore. Trim your feeble lamp, my Father, some poor child, tempest-tossed, trying now to make the harbor in the darkness may be lost. I love this hymn because it shows that we work in partnership with God to teach these values, principles, and beliefs to our children. He is the source of these beliefs. He is the source of these values. He is the source of these principles. And we, when we live them, we share them, we act as that lower light, and it gives direction to our children so they know that these values and beliefs and principles are a safe direction in life. I don't mean safe as in no trials, but I mean safe in that they will guide them and lead them to a life full of joy, full of happiness, and full of success in those things that matter most in life. Now, on to the second topic I'd like to discuss, which is how do we create these beliefs, values, and principles as part of a culture in our homes? So first thing is kind of basic. We need to know what they are. We need to know what our values, beliefs, and principles are. So the first thing to do is just simply sit down and brainstorm it. Do this by yourself then do it with your wife, and then do it with your family, and just brainstorm ideas of what are our values or your values, the family values and beliefs and principles that you try to live by or that you want to live by and make part of your culture. So brainstorm them, get them all written down, and then take those and try to group them into topics, maybe some that are alike, and consolidate them down. And then take those groups and try to get those down into one value, belief, or principle. Something that you can remember, not a long sentence. I'm thinking like one word. Okay. So to give you an example, our family motto, and we had to go through this a few times, just the exercise of brainstorming, grouping them, consolidating, do it again, checking with everybody, because my son had moved out of the house by the time we did this. So we didn't do this early on. This was a little later, but we were trying to identify these things that create who we are. And our family motto, we narrowed down to 4 words. We are dreamers, doers, believers, and servers. I'm not going to go into all the depth of those, but that's our family motto. Our kids know it, we know it, and we refer to it often. We are dreamers, doers, believers, servers. So once you get this motto, and it can be longer, we just got ours down to 4 words because we don't remember things very well. So we wanted to make it as simple as possible. But write it down, write it in a journal, write it on a piece of paper, stick it on the wall, create some vinyl and put it on the wall. I know people like to do that, or a poster, but put your motto, put your values, beliefs, and principles where your family will see them, and then talk about them, refer to them often, make it part of your life and your regular conversation. Anything that you can do to help you remember and be consistent in living these values, beliefs, and principles that you have identified that you want to create and build in your family. I have my brother and sister-in-law. The way they have done it is they've created a family song/chant that they say with their kids, and their kids are little and they all know it, and it's fun. Their personality is very fun, and there's more in it than ours, but that's fine. You make what works for you. I'm going to share this brief recording with you right now.
Work hard, play hard, love hard too. We are Thornox through and through. Prayerful, honest, cheerful, brave. Be a friend, serve and save. Nourish body, mind, and soul. Following Christ is our goal. And we're hot. Woo! Thornox rule.
Okay, so that's a fun way of implementing their family motto, their beliefs, values, and principles into their life. I love it. I'm so glad that they were willing to share that with us. All right, this is another long principle, another long episode. I apologize for the long episodes, but I told you I'd keep these short, so we're going to cut this principle here and continue it in the next episode. Please come back. I've got some great stories in the next episode that you won't want to miss.